You wake up. You check your bank account. Salary came in. For a moment, everything feels fine. Then bills hit. Rent. Subscriptions. Food. Small purchases you don't even remember making. And suddenly, it's gone. And the weird part is, you're not even doing anything crazy. You're not buying luxury watches. You're not flying first class. You're just living. And still, somehow, you feel stuck. Like no matter how much you earn, nothing really changes. Look, here's the uncomfortable truth. This is not an income problem. This is a system problem. Because if income alone made people rich, then doctors, lawyers, and engineers would all be wealthy. But they're not. Many of them are just, high-income broke. Same stress. Same cycle. Just with bigger numbers. My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money actually works. If you're someone who earns money but still feels like it disappears, hit subscribe, because this is exactly what we're going to fix. Here's the thing. Most people don't have a money strategy. They have reactions. Money comes in. They react, spend, adjust, hope. That's not a system. That's survival. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because the problem isn't that you're doing something wrong. It's that you were never taught the rules. Not real rules. Not the ones that actually build wealth. Instead, you were told things like, work hard. Save money. Be responsible. Sounds good. Doesn't work. Because none of those explain how money behaves. Let's break it down. The real problem. Imagine you have a bucket. Every month, you pour your salary into it. Now imagine that bucket has holes. Rent. Food. Subscriptions. Random spending. Impulse buys. You keep pouring, but it never fills. So what do most people do? They try to pour more. Work more. Earn more. But the holes are still there. So nothing changes. This is why people making $2,000 feel broke. And people making $10,000 also feel broke. Different numbers. Same system. Here's what most people don't realize, wealth is not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, and what you do with what you keep. And that's where the 5 rules come in. This sounds obvious. Almost stupidly simple. But here's the reality. According to data from the Federal Reserve, over 60% of people live paycheck to paycheck. Including high earners. Why? Because spending scales with income. You earn more, you upgrade your life. Better apartment. Better car. Better lifestyle. And now your baseline is higher. So even though your income increased, your financial position didn't. Let's do simple math. You earn $3,000 and spend $2,800, you keep $200. You earn $6,000 and spend $5,800, you still keep $200. Double income. Same outcome. This is lifestyle inflation. And it's one of the biggest silent killers of wealth. Now you might be thinking, okay, I'll just cut everything. No. That's not the point. This isn't about living like a monk. It's about control. You decide where money goes. Not the other way around. Because every dollar you don't control, gets assigned somewhere randomly. And random spending equals zero progress. Here's where most people completely fail. They think budgeting is the answer. It's not. Budgeting is reactive. Cash flow control is proactive. Let me explain. Budgeting is like saying, I spent this much last month. Cash flow control is, this is where my money goes before I touch it. Huge difference. Think of your money like a system of pipes. Money flows in, and then gets distributed. If you don't design the system, it leaks everywhere. What smart people do instead? They design the flow. Example, income 50% essentials. 20% investing. 10% savings. 20% lifestyle. The exact numbers don't matter. The structure does. Because now money has direction. And direction creates progress. Here's what most people don't realize: uncontrolled money behaves like water. It flows to the easiest exit. And the easiest exit is usually consumption. This is where everything changes. And this is where most people wait too long. Let's do real numbers. Person A starts investing $300 per month at age 25. Person B starts investing $300 per month at age 35. Both invest until 65. Assume average return, 8%. Person A ends with $880,000. Person B ends with $370,000. Same monthly amount. Same effort. Half the result. Why? Time. Compounding is not linear. It's exponential. In the beginning, it feels slow. Nothing happens. Growth is tiny. But then, it accelerates. This is why people quit early. Because it doesn't feel rewarding. But this is where it gets really interesting: the biggest gains don't come from investing more. They come from investing earlier. Time amount. Not all debt is bad. But most people don't know the difference. Good debt, used to acquire assets, generates income or appreciation. Bad debt, used for consumption, loses value immediately. Example, buying a rental property potential asset. Buying a new iPhone on credit liability. Now here's the problem. Debt feels good in the moment. Because it removes friction. You don't need to wait. You don't need to think. You just get it. But future you pays the price. With interest. And time. Let's say you carry $5,000 on a credit card at 20% interest. If you only make minimum payments, you could pay thousands in interest alone. For something you already consumed. Here's what most people don't realize: debt doesn't just take money. It takes your future options. Because your income is already assigned. This is the difference between people who struggle and people who build wealth consistently. Systems remove decision-making. Because decisions are the problem. Every time you rely on discipline, you introduce failure. Because discipline runs out. Systems don't. Example, automatic investing every month. Automatic savings transfer. Predefined spending categories. Now instead of thinking every time, the system runs. And you just follow it. This is how people build wealth without constantly thinking about money. At this point, everything changes. You stop thinking, how do I make more money? And start thinking, how does my money behave? Because behavior determines outcome. Not income. And this is where most people never get. They stay focused on earning instead of optimizing. Now imagine this: your income comes in. It gets distributed automatically. Your investments grow quietly. Your expenses are controlled. Your debt is minimal or strategic. You're not guessing anymore. You're operating a system. That's financial literacy. Not knowing terms. Not watching videos. Actually controlling money. Look, this isn't complicated. But it's not easy either. Because it requires changing how you think. Not just what you do. Here's what most people don't realize: you don't need more income to start. You need structure. You need control. You need systems. Because without those, more money just makes the problem bigger. But with them, even small money starts working. And once it starts working, everything changes. If this helped you understand money differently, subscribe. Because most people never learn this. And that's exactly why they stay stuck.